Sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones we whisper to ourselves. The doubts we wrestle with, the small victories we celebrate quietly, the lessons we almost overlook. In running and in life, those inner conversations can hold us back, but they can also move us forward. The Inner Monologue is a space to share those unfiltered reflections out loud. Not as polished answers, but as stories of struggle, growth, and discovery. Because when we speak them, we realize we're not alone. These are conversations with ourselves, offered in the hope that they inspire, connect, and remind us of the fearless spirit we all carry. This summer, I turned fearless. I started my running journey in the basement, on a treadmill, alone. I didn't want anyone to see me struggle, to see me taking walking breaks, to see me quit before I hit my goal for the day, which happened more than I care to admit. The treadmill was safe. It was the same treadmill I bought about 8 years earlier after giving birth to my daughter, Lila. I bought it with the desperate hope that it would help me lose the weight I had gained during pregnancy, which, let's just say, was substantial. But here's the thing. I never liked running. In high school, I picked my sports specifically based on how much running would be involved. Soccer, basketball, no thank you. But volleyball and tennis? Sure, sign me up. I remember the dread that came with the handful of practices that our coach made us run a timed mile. I loved being part of that team and I loved playing volleyball, but I hated those laps around the field. Running felt like a punishment. It was something to just get through. Still, deep down, I knew that sports had given me a spark. They gave me drive and confidence, and there was a thrill in pushing myself that way. After having my daughter and then my son a few years later, I was chasing that spark that I had lost. I lost the pregnancy weight, sure, but I couldn't capture the drive to do hard things anymore. I felt like I had left that inner athlete behind. But part of me held on to hope that she was still in there somewhere. And that's what led me back to the treadmill. One slow, clumsy, awkward run at a time. I didn't have a team anymore to play with, and the treadmill seemed like the next best thing. At some point in that season, I stumbled across a virtual race. It was called Chase the Moon. And the idea was simple. You signed up, they sent you a medal in advance, and then you ran your race anywhere, anytime. This one happened to be at night. The medal even glowed in the dark. It was cool. And it was going to be my first race medal. The plan was to run it with my husband. Now, my husband has much longer legs than I do. And even though he told me 1,000 times that he didn't mind running at my pace, it still made me uncomfortable. And it's something that I still wrestle with, feeling as if I'm holding someone back. But then something unexpected happened. There was a mom who lived just one street over, and she told me that she signed up for Chase the Moon too. Her name was Colleen. "We should run it together," she said. No, you won't want to run with me. I'd just slow you down." I'm sure that's not true, she said with a smile. So that was the beginning. I decided to step outside my comfort zone and be fearless and agree to run the race with Colleen. And running that race with Colleen was the first time I realized that maybe, just maybe, I didn't have to do this alone. That night was pouring rain, and there was even lightning streaking across the sky as we finished up our miles. It was exhilarating. After that night, she introduced me to 3 of her other running friends, who not long after became my running friends. And before long, we were meeting up multiple mornings a week before our kids had to be up for school. We would slip out into the early dark, our headlamps bouncing, and we'd log a few miles together before the rest of the neighborhood even stirred. And you know what? I started to love running. Not because it suddenly got easier or because I suddenly got faster, but because I wasn't doing it alone anymore. Those runs became like therapy. We moved our bodies, we shared our stresses, we laughed and laughed and laughed. And I remember this one particular night that we decided to go for a run around Halloween. We dressed all in black, taped glow sticks to our arms and legs, and ran through the neighborhood like a pack of glowing stick figures. At one point, our arms and legs started falling off, and people driving by must have thought they were seeing things. It was one of the greatest runs. The mornings were quieter, just steady footsteps and the comfort of knowing someone else was beside you, carrying their own load, matching you step for step. Running turned into so much more than exercise. It was community. It was connection. It was the lifeline I didn't know I needed. And here's the thing I've come to realize. That treadmill in the basement got me started. It gave me privacy when I was afraid of being seen. It gave me a way to experiment, to stumble, to quit, and then try again. But it wasn't what kept me going. What kept me going was Colleen and Kara and Kaylee and Terry, the other women who became my running friends. What kept me going was the laughter and the stories and the feeling of belonging. Running stopped being about chasing a number on a scale or a watch or punishing myself for what I couldn't do or what I've eaten. Running became about showing up for myself and for each other. That community gave me back the spark I thought I had lost. And it all started with one virtual race, one step outside my comfort zone, and one neighbor who said, "Let's run it together." Thanks for listening to this episode of In Fearless Conversation, the Inner Monologue. If you have something you'd like to share on an episode of the Inner Monologue, send us an email at info@261fearless.org.